Wow, it's about that time. Here's Margarita. We're heading for the well. Here's well. Well, good morning, everybody. This is Gulf Harbour Radio, ZMH 286, Patricia and David. Slowly getting ourselves together after our long break here. Not a very pleasant day here at Gulf Harbour this morning. A 100% cloud. I didn't put that on the streaming device. I'll have to do that now. But yeah, it's a bit dull. I'm told that something is coming. I don't quite know what, but it looks like it's not going to be very good. Up front, says David. But anyway, our first 1.5 days back were absolutely glorious weather, so I'm not complaining here at all. And with the help of pills, I'm getting over my jet lag, so I should be a little bit wider awake this morning and be able to tell you what's going on in the wild world. It was interesting being in Russia because you didn't really get to know what was going on in the wild world. All of the media there is controlled by the state, the newspapers and the television. And of course it's all in Russian, so that wasn't much help to me at all. I learned a few Russian words like exit, because when you're in some of these big places that was always quite useful. And thank you, Placebo. But boy, it was difficult to work out anything else. I did see that there were wildfires going on, terrible fires in Greece. But apart from that, you just don't get to know what's going on in the world. The only way Russians can work out what's going on in the world is from the internet. And it didn't seem to be restricted at all, but of course you had to be able to speak English or some other foreign language. And I can assure you that there's not an awful lot of English-speaking people in the Moscow area. There certainly was on the western side, St. Petersburg. I had no problems at all trying to ask a brief question, but certainly when you go inland, and we did go inland and up and around and so on, trying to find somebody with English was a little tricky. But anyway, what's going on in the world today? Well, we've got record temperatures about to hit Spain, Portugal and the European heat wave this week is really notching up a little bit. 48 degrees they think they're going to get on the Iberian Peninsula, and this is on top of what has been an absolutely remarkable summer in the UK, absolute heat wave. So when I was in Dubai passing through, funnily enough, it was absolutely thick fog. How the guy got down, it's the best landing I've ever done at Dubai. But we did get delayed with fog leaving, which wasn't very pleasant because the whole plane, everybody's sitting in the plane with 48 degrees outside, and the air conditioning systems just didn't cope with those extremes. So it was very unpleasant in the Airbus until we finally got going an hour late. And talking about heat, fires in Northern California, that's up in the Redding area, just north of, it's on I-5, sort of, Northern California, past Red Bluff. There's about 1,000 homes totally destroyed, and a few people dead, over 320,000 acres. And there are high temperatures in Japan and Korea. So I tell you what, it's probably the most pleasant place there is up there in the South Pacific at the moment. So make the most of it, you guys. And it sounds like everyone is starting to move around. But believe it or not, we've actually got people still leaving from New Zealand. Hard to believe, isn't it? But everyone's schedules are different. All right, before we get going, and David is on deck here this morning, is there anyone wanting anything in particular? I know he will cover Thalanga, because we know boats there, and various other places, but is there anybody wanting anything specific, or just to say hello? Please call. Who was that? Oh, there was a male voice then. I couldn't work out the boat name. Who was it? Oh, Blowing Bubbles. I don't know why I don't get you too well, Carl. Yes. It's pretty noisy on your transmission. And I see you are underway using the engine, lost your wind. Started motoring 5 o'clock yesterday, and you'll pass Vanuatu today, hopefully not picking up too much soot, and heading for Port Moresby. Well, you've got a fair ways to go. I'll just give David your current position and he'll see if he can find you a bit more wind. 1821 south and 16945 east, and you've currently only got 5 knots of east-southeast. I guess the fuel tanks aren't going to last you 1,550 miles if you have to keep using them, over.
What's the latitude?
Yeah, the latitude for David, 1821. So he's got you there. Yeah, no, and it would certainly be a bit noisy on board too, that's for sure. All right, let's have a look there. We're going to be crossing over through Vanuatu during the day. I'll pass the microphone to see what you'll have.
What is the weather now?
Yeah, just for him.
Yeah, well, you're doing pretty good, actually. There's a very nice high. You obviously did your homework. Nice high in Tasman. Looking at lunchtime today, giving pretty nice trades all the way up into the Coral Sea there. Southeast 15 in the mean from what I could see, looking at around lunchtime, and moving forward a little bit, the winds stay pretty consistent all the way up to 10 south right through Sunday. The winds probably will back a little bit. I would say maybe, well, no, for you they'll be southeast. If you were a little bit further west, I would say east-southeast, but more southeast, all in the 15-knot range at that point. And let's see where our trough is. You don't start to bump into the troughing until you get above 10, between 5 and 10 degrees south. That's where you start to get the effects of the convective activity. But apart from that, it looks like they'll have a pretty good passage. Over.
Roger. Thank you, David. All is well, and I just got some low conditions now because I've had no wind for the last 6 hours. Over.
Yeah, well, let's see what the satellite image has got to say in that area. Yeah, I hardly see any cloud covers. Nothing but a few scattered clouds. What is the cloud cover over you? Over.
That is exactly correct. I assume you're 30%. Over.
Yeah, pardon me. I'm going to give this back to Tricia for a minute and take a look, see if I can get a wind satellite in your area. So I'll pass it back to her. Hang on.
Yeah, I was just looking at some of the reports that are in. Mr. Troy, good morning to you guys on streaming there. It sounds pretty nice there at Nanano E Cape. I think that's the funniest word on the Fiji group there. No audio streaming. Should be. I'll just check on that one. No audio streaming. Should be. But I'll see if I get a report from someone else. It's light south wind there anyway and clear sky. So sounds pretty good everywhere. Margarita are heading to Vavau. They'll get there tomorrow, Saturday. Only 12 knots of southerly and only 10% cloud cover, so that's pretty nice. Willamie, they're down in Kindavu, I think, still. Anyway, they've got calm, but it's 60% cloud cover down there. They've moved around to Vinicius. Don't know where that is. Heading for Lautoka tomorrow morning anyway, so better just make sure we've got everything working there. All right, and Serena, oh, wow, that's interesting. They're heading from Brisbane to Noumea. Everyone's really long time getting going from Oz this year, don't know why. So good morning to you, and good morning to Ken and Beth on Eagles Wings. They're up at Mallee. So pretty pleasant there by the look of it. 4 knots, this was a while ago now. Quiet and peaceful at Mallee Island. So yeah, everyone's enjoying enjoying life, and it's peaceful and absolutely no wind here either. So, and not an awful lot of news to tell you about from what's going on in the world, apart from all of these record temperatures everywhere.
Is that 169 is longitude?
Is David still wondering about your 169 longitude? Hang on. Blowing bubbles 169, yes, definitely 169.45. So I'll pass the microphone back.
Yeah, I do have a swath for your area, and it is light air, and it's all due to orographic effect all around, everywhere north of Santa, Malakula. That whole area enclosed is very, very light. It's not until you get a little bit further west to get away from that orographic. The wind is just lifting, and there's just no air in close. It does pick up as you get away from the land effect, but not for a bit, probably not till you get to about 167 or so. And then you'll have wind, and it should be fairly decent, probably 10 to 15 knots, just nice gentle sailing, but you're going to have to bear with it until you get out a little bit further. Over. Yeah, there's absolutely, the wind satellite is showing hardly any wind there at all, just as you report. Over.
Okay, anybody else before we do a bit more of a roundup through the area? Any other questions? Well, we've got a couple there, Toranui and Whitehawk. Stand by, Whitehawk. We've got Toranui down in Falanga. What's it like, Graham?
Good morning, good morning, David. With the north of the east and 100% cloud cover.
Oh, 100% cloud cover, so that visibility will be a bit reduced in the water. How did the dive passing go yesterday?
It's beautiful.
Yeah, it just sounds like it. I always regret we missed out on that. So 15 knots from the east down there in Falanga. Thank you for that. And Whitehawk, good morning to you guys.
Good morning, Patricia. We're still planning on meeting for PG tomorrow morning.
Okay, and Whitehawk are in Minerva, looking to clear for Fiji tomorrow morning. So don't forget to just review that one as when I give you the microphone. Thank you. What's it like? Is it still pretty windy in Minerva?
It was all day yesterday, last night after dark, picking up to 27 again, but this morning it was nice. We got about 15 knots from 1, 2, 3 through.
Oh, good show. Oh,
From what direction?
Now, what did you say the direction was this morning?
East-southeast. It's from 123 to 130.
Okay, got it. Thank you. He's having a look at that. All right, well, I'm going to pass the microphone to him because we do have a few people on the go. And if he goes through and doesn't cover you, just pipe up at the end. Here's David.
Alrighty, good morning. And that Minerva area tomorrow, you'll have a definite wind shift as that low, I call it the Minerva low, for the lack of a better term, I guess. Your wind should be southwest tomorrow, southwest. They'll be in the neighborhood of 15 knots in the mean, 1.5. So anyhow, our roller coaster ride at 250 and 500 millibar, that continues. We talked about that yesterday. And one of the troughs is a very sharp shortwave that extends from New Zealand, goes all the way up to the islands. The axis of it runs more or less north-south, pretty much up 178 east. Just to the west of Fiji, so that's the axis of that shortwave. And of course, all of the upflow is always on the east side of the axis, and that is what is maintaining that little low, the Minerva low, if you will. So, as I said, it's producing and maintaining this particular depression. And it's located this morning. Let's see, I had a position, but I wrote it down someplace. I'll find it in a minute. But apart from that, the short wave is also messing up weather here in the New Zealand area. In fact, we've got a low of our very own that's sitting over the South Island, and that is going to be fairly aggressive by around lunchtime, I would say. The front from it extends northward. It's going to pass over here, over Gulf Harbor Radio, I would say by around lunchtime, and it's going to go all the way up to about 30 south. And we do have one boat that has left to head north, or is planning on it. I'm not sure if they've actually gone yet. But anyhow, they'll be affected by that if they do go down. So it goes up to 30 in the date line at the moment. Now by lunchtime tomorrow, we have a pretty strong surface high that's going to lie east of the South Island. Now the central pressure of this is 1034 millibar, and as is typical with strong highs like this, we do have a subtropical low that's formed, and that's what I call the Minerva low. And it's formed on the northwest corner. That's the traditional spot for these things to form when you get a high that's strong. And essentially, it's south of Tonga. I'm looking at it right now on the satellite image, and from it I could see it's right around, oh boy, it's probably the center, 24, 25 south, and right around 170 west. And it's spinning merrily along. Now, what else could I say about that? It's followed by a high that happens to be south of New Caledonia, which is good news for the people in Vanuatu and New Caledonia. Now, the orientation of both of these features, the high that I mentioned and the low, the Minerva low, is going to produce southerly winds to maybe southwesterly winds for Tonga and Niue, and also for Minerva, for the yacht that's heading north. Now, this morning, that Minerva low, as I mentioned, is pretty much due south of Niue. Yep, due south of Niue. And I gave you the position of it, so I won't repeat that. The cold front, though, extends to just to the west of Niue, and it's actually approaching Niue fairly swiftly. And the frontal band itself is going over Tonga, and it goes all the way over to Fiji. So the cloud that Falanga is looking at is actually the tail end of the Minerva depression, if you will. Now, there's not much in it, but it's definitely there. So now in the deep tropics, a little bit further north, we have a very active trough that's running from the Solomons, then runs between Tuvalu and Rotuma, from what I can see here, and it goes on to Samoa, smack dab over Samoa, in fact. Then it goes east-southeast and continues onward from there. The Northern Cooks, yep, they're enjoying one of their popular troughs. I think maybe in future we may call it the Trophy Cooks instead of the Northern Cooks, instead of the traditional term. We seem to be getting an awful lot of troughing the last 2 seasons over the Northern Cook area. But that's the way it goes up there in the tropics. Now, looking at the islands for you, the winds for Tonga today, they look to be fairly light early this morning. South-southeast mostly, and possibly south-southwest by dinner. We talked about those winds changing because of the movement of that depression. So by midnight, we actually could see west-northwest winds for the Tonga area, and they're feeding the frontal band that again is just about over Niue. Now for Saturday, expect westerlies in the 10 to 15 knot range, and by dinner time, I think we're going to see southwest maybe up to 20 knots, and probably southwest is going to continue into Sunday as well, into Sunday. Over to Fiji, which is affected by the tail end of that Minerva cold front. and therefore expect pretty much cloudy periods with showers, and hopefully we'll have some fine weather tomorrow for Saturday. Now, Fiji Met has got a strong wind warning out for southwest Viti Levu, all the waters around southwest Viti Levu, the Osawas area, Vanua Levu, mostly to the north there, and of course the Batuira Passage. So expect winds southeast 20 to 25 knots, and we'll have some pretty rough seas out in the open waters there. Now, by lunch tomorrow, the winds to me look mostly southerlies, but I think south-southwest for the Lao, south-southwest, and we'll call it 15 to 20 knots. And on Sunday, looks like still southerlies, and they'll be in the 15 to 20 knot range as well. Over to Vanuatu now. Early this morning, satellite imagery showed pretty fine weather. A little bit of cloud down in Anisha, southern part of Vanuatu there. The winds southeast, probably in the 10 to 15 knot range for the southern half of the group quite early, but south to south-southeast by lunchtime in the 15 knot range. The northern half, we're looking at south-southeast about 15. Now this afternoon, the winds should pick up to around 20 knots for most of Vanuatu, and they'll be south-southeast to southeast. Now by lunchtime tomorrow, expect southeast 15 to 20, and Sunday pretty much the same, although I think they're going to be rising to about 20 knots later on Sunday. So that's for Vanuatu. And lastly, for Nukal, not a bad day, looking at imagery this morning. Partly cloudy though for most of our area in the southern lagoon. Maybe getting a little bit cloudier by dinner time. Possibility of some showers in Yokopan. The wind southeast in the 15 knot range. And Saturday is going to bring east-southeast, I think 10 to 15. Still partly cloudy. And Sunday also partly cloudy. And I would say east-southeast about 15. Shifting to the southeast after lunch. And these mellow conditions, again, are due to that nice weak high that I talked about earlier, that's south of New Caledonia. Its central pressure is about 1020 millibar. So it's providing some nice gentle winds for most of southern Vanuatu and New Caledonia. So these light conditions, I think, are going to prevail right through Monday. That high is going to be hanging in there. It'll be moving east a little bit next week, but right through Monday, things should be fairly mellow for the western tropic area. So that's it from me. Any questions or comments, feel free. And I think Chris is going to talk to you about our Saturdays.
Oh, yes. Oh, I forgot about that. Yes, if you want anything, we've decided that whilst there's not an awful lot of passage making and stuff like that going on, that we would take Saturdays off as well. You know, once you have a taste of holidays, you really start to enjoy not getting up at 5 o'clock in the morning. So we've thought that until things heat up a bit, we will just do Monday to Friday, which means that we will not be on tomorrow or the next Saturday. So if you have anything, he's going to do a bit of a review as to what's going to go on in the weekend, I think. Oh, you did. I wasn't paying attention.
I know you're not.
No,
Because you're half asleep.
No, I'm not half asleep. I was actually
Your eyes are closed.
well, no, not closed, and I was doing email addresses on my computer, so there. So if you have anything that wants to take you through the weekend, please call now. Sarina, oh goodness, we haven't heard you for a long time. Go ahead.
I'm more because I didn't see the email that you sent me. It's halfway across to New Caledonia at the moment. Any idea what we're going to do for the next couple of days? Because we've been beating for a long time.
Yeah, I guess people don't like beating. Serena of Ore, I'll just tell David where you are at the moment, that will help him. 2436, 2436 south, 15941 east. And the weather, well, I'm looking for the weather, east, southeast 10 to 14, sea slight, and 0.2 meter waves.
Same tomorrow.
Same tomorrow, he's saying. So you're currently on your way to Brisbane, from Brisbane to Noumea. So southeast is, when is he going to lose the southeast? Give us a bit of an update. Hang on a minute, Eric.
Well, I'm afraid that you're probably not going to lose it. If you'll recall what I just mentioned about that high that's south of Newcal, that's your villain. Villain for you, pleasant for the people that are already there, I hate to say. But for that passage, unfortunately, you're getting all the winds that are on the top half of that high, and they're all coming out of the east, give or take, east, southeast, a little bit of southeast in it. But it's going to be that way right through Monday, I'm afraid. So what's your ETA? Over.
2.5 to 3 days.
Yeah, I'm looking at right through Monday and getting up closer to New Caledonia itself. I'm afraid they're easterly winds. Now, they're not strong, so that's a bit in your favor, I suppose. You could look at it that way. I see about 15 knots, but coming straight out of the east on Monday, just to the south of Newcal, as you approach the passage. So there you go. I'm afraid you'll get a lot of tacking practice. Over.
Yes, suck it up and keep going.
Yeah, take one of those concrete pills. We got them here in New Zealand, and we sell them by the quart. Oh, yeah, by the liter. Yeah. So what we're going to do on Fridays, I will give you an update for Saturday and Sunday, as well as just giving you the usual Friday weather. So Friday will be a bigger day than normal, and since we've always had Sunday off, but I think I'm just getting old. So what I will do again on Fridays is I will try to give you your wind speed and direction for Saturday and Sunday for the major island group. So I'll cover Newcal, Vanuatu, Fiji, and Tonga, and anybody who I'm not covering. If you're someplace other than that, just call on the radio or streaming if you have it, and I'll try to give you an update for that too. And if I see anything nasty that's coming through a cold front trough or whatever, I'll certainly talk about those as well. So we won't leave you in the lurch. Give you as much weather as we can. So with that, here's the chief.
I thought there might have been somebody in behind Serena. Who was that? Oh, why? Good morning to you guys. Whereabouts have you got to? Yeah, you might have to start that again. There was a bit of a double up here, so it was a bit hard to work out. So just keep it simple and give it to me again. Over. Yeah, go ahead. Wow, I'm really struggling. I don't know what happened there. Well, I've got Taranui pretty well. And who else was there that I've got? Well, could somebody give me a relay on that, please? Go ahead.
Good morning, asking about the wind conditions, the last wind conditions. Thinking of arriving in the Hawaii group this afternoon, you need to know the velocity of the westerly is coming from the north.
Oh, thank you. You're very clear. So let's go to the Hapais, folks, and look at the strength of the westerlies coming through this afternoon. All right. That's always of interest to know in the Hapais, that's for sure. All right. Here's David.
Well, it's a tough call. The models don't like this sort of a condition when we have a weak cold front going through or a trough. What I can guesstimate for the Hapais, I see southwest about 10 knots in the mean now. This is looking toward dinner time today. You're heading north, right? Is that what you're doing? Going toward Vavau. As you get further up the line toward Vavau, they tend southerly up there in the Vavau area. However, I caution you because if you are underneath one of these cumulus congestus or a CB, you are going to get gusts up to 30, 35 knots. But the models are not picking that up at all. Now, looking at midnight, I see mainly westerlies between Hapais and Vavau, maybe a little bit of north in it. Closer to the Hapais, I see west-northwest, but westerlies as you get closer to Vavau. Now, tomorrow morning, halfway, I see just slightly north of west. Call it west-northwest, but not quite there. By lunchtime, and that's light, by the way, the air is fairly light. By lunch, the winds pick up to 15, straight out of the west. Maybe even, now we'll call it west, right through lunchtime. Now, by Saturday around dinner time, the wind does pick up. Then it becomes southwest, and I would say 15 to 20, favoring 20 knots. Over.
Yeah, I actually got him quite clearly that time without the weird whistle that was on it. Okay, well, I'll tell you what, our weather's not improving here. It looks grim. And if anybody was listening on streaming and is having a trouble, I'm going to have to, according to Diego, my streaming sound isn't coming through, but I noticed that there are other people listening. So if there's, if anyone can hear, it would save me an awful lot of time of going through my end here. If you could let me know whether you hear or not. All right. One final call. Is there anybody else?
Golf Harbour Radio, why?
Why? That's perfect. Go ahead.
Yeah, Roger, Patricia David, yeah. Good to hear you back from your holidays. I hope you had a good break.
I had a perfect break. David kept the home fires burning, and I went to countries I've not been to before, the Baltic states and Russia. The only trouble with going to those places is getting there and back. Over.
We're New Caledonia, down Isle of Pines, beautiful day down here, and we'll be probably leaving here on Monday for New Zealand, over.
Ah, you're in the Isle of Pines, and, well, we got that wrong. Isle of Pines leaving there on Monday for New Zealand. Gosh, you're going to cross about 3 people that are heading up to the area. Now, one of them is actually going to Newcastle, and one going to Vanuatu. All right, let's have a look at the Isle of Pines leaving on Monday. Do you want to have a quick look there now? Hang on, I'm passing the microphone.
Yeah, I'm not exactly looking at the Isle of Pines, but I am looking at the depression over New Zealand that's sending a cold front north on the Wednesday time frame. And I don't know where you would be on Wednesday. The winds preceding that are going to be good for you. They'll be northwest winds, so that'll scoot you on your way. But behind the cold front, the winds are going to be southerly quadrant, which is not a real good idea. But fairly light. In fact, the whole passage is, looking at Friday, It depends how fast you
He's
go.
a powerboat.
Oh, you're a powerboat, so
I
you're
think.
gonna.
Just check with him.
You are a powerboat. Over.
Yeah, roger, David.
Sorry about that. I forgot. Well, the winds will be on the nose, certainly on Friday. There's a secondary cold front goes through, so it could be a lively little passage on one hand, but the winds don't look too bad, really. So I think best thing is we'll contact you on Monday. When you're underway, we'll see if the models have changed their mind and what we've got in store for you. But it'll be an interesting passage. So in summary, I see two cold fronts going through with the wind doing quite a bit of shifting in between them, but nothing super strong, except very close to New Zealand. We're going to get quite a bit of wind in the New Zealand area, but you won't be there yet. So what would be your ETA then, since you could pretty much maintain your speed? Over.
Yeah, probably the following Saturday, David. Saturday, over.
All right, hang on here. That's a little too far out for the models to be of any real accuracy, but looking at midnight on Friday, southerlies getting into New Zealand in the 15 knot range. Nice high is between New Zealand and Australia. So the weather will be quite nice. You'll have some sunshine greeting you, but the southerlies will probably be a little bit nippy, but fairly light in the 15 knot range. Over.
That's all right, David. Thank you very much. We'll give you a call Monday.
Okay.
Roger that. We'll look forward to talking with you.
So it'll be useful to get some reports for people coming down to help the people coming up. Oh, and by the way, folks that know IALEA, Paul sent an email to say they got through to French Polynesia in 16 days, without a single gale. They never saw more than 30 knots. They had no gear failure and managed to do pretty much drumline. So it shows you it can be done. So there you have it. Good sail for them up to French Polynesia. And actually the others that went earlier are starting to look at coming back westward again. All right, so they're not going to, though they're going on further to Alaska. All right, well, cheers, everybody. I think that's it, but I'll just do a pause in case there's anybody else. Yeah, good morning again, Graham. Go ahead. No, I haven't. I have been looking to get a report from them. I was about to tell their daughter that if she doesn't get her lawn mowed rather rapidly, she might be out of action for a while. I hope Robert's thinking the same thing. But no, I haven't heard them from a while. I'll just put the microphone down to see when they last reported.
A long time.
Yeah, it was a week, 3 days ago that they last reported. So, of course, they've had the kids with them, so it would be fairly busy with the school holidays and everything. They were at Raiatea at that stage. Oh no, the kids flew home that morning. So it'd be a bit difficult to do reports when you've got a boat full of family. So yes, that would have been fairly busy for them. So anyway, I'll have a read of that one. I missed that one. Must have been somewhere where I didn't get much internet. Actually, the internet from all through where I was absolutely fantastic. They're into 5G, believe it or not, in some places in Estonia. Estonia happens to be the cyber security place for NATO, and everything is very sophisticated. Even in the metro in Moscow, you had internet, and everyone was glued to their cell phones, as you could imagine. So Anyway, yeah, I'll see what the story is there and see what's going on. I'll report back. Cheers, Graham. Have a lovely day there. Alrighty, not much more from here, folks. We'll enjoy our miserable, gloomy day by the look of it here, and we'll talk to you again on Monday. Cheers, everyone. This is Gulf Harbour Radio ZMH 286, and don't forget, if you need us, we are GH Radio at Extra, which is just xtra.co.nz. No problem doing emails. We just want a little bit of a sleeping in the mornings till we recuperate. Cheers all.
Yeah, like 6 months worth of sleep.
Yes. Our attempt to return to Moorea last Tuesday ended with us back in Huahine because the 3 metre seas on the nose were too hard on both the boat and crew.
Who's this?
This is 2C2. I think thought he was going to be zigging, zagging and backwards and forwards.
I told him you'd have a hard time.
After a wild night in the anchorage at Wahine, on the way back to Raitau, we hooked a striped marlin after paying it for close to our got alongside the boat about 10 metres down. I thought we had it, but not so. The braid line I'm using on my new fishing rod slipped off the roller at the tip and jammed between the roller and string. The marlin gave a kick and both the line and the rod broke immediately. That was the end of our marlin business. It was a big fish over 2 metres long, probably 80 to 100 kilograms, so we could never have used it all even with our 2 freezers. Maybe losing it was the best outcome. I've since bought a new rod and new 2 rower, so we're back in the fishing business. Hopefully, Marty knows.
Yes, I told him he would have a bit of difficulty thinking he could just breeze back and forth.
Yep.
Breeze, all right. What the hell am I?
I have to work out why my stream is not working today. Take it off here.